Imagine stepping into your backyard, balcony, or a shaded corner of your garden and thinking, nothing useful will grow here. It's a common belief, but it's far from true. While many crops need full sun, some fruits and vegetables actually thrive in partial shade. Many edible plants evolved in woodland edges and sheltered environments where sunlight is filtered rather than constant throughout the day. That means a shady yard, side garden, or balcony can still produce an impressive harvest. You simply need to choose the right plants. In this guide, we'll explore 10 fruits and vegetables that grow surprisingly well in partial shade and low light conditions. These productive crops can turn overlooked spaces into thriving food gardens and may completely change the way you think about growing in the shade. Let's start with a fruit that surprises many gardeners. 1. Raspberries and blackberries. When people picture raspberry and blackberry production, they often imagine large fields growing under full sunshine. As a result, many gardeners assume these berry plants demand intense sunlight throughout the day. However, their natural growing habits tell a different story. In the wild, caneberries frequently grow along woodland edges beneath taller vegetation and in locations where sunlight is filtered through tree canopies for part of the day. Because of this, they adapt remarkably well to partially shaded environments. Why partial shade can benefit? Caneberries. Gentler light conditions often reduce stress on raspberry and blackberry plants. The soil tends to stay moist longer, leaves remain healthier, and the plants are less likely to suffer during periods of extreme heat. The fruit may benefit as well. When berries ripen more gradually under cooler conditions, they often develop richer flavor and better sweetness compared to fruit exposed to excessive heat. Too much intense afternoon sun can sometimes lead to sun-damaged fruit, dry or scorched foliage, shriveled berries, faster moisture loss from the soil. Partial shade helps minimize many of these problems while promoting steady growth. Light requirements. Although raspberries and blackberries still need some sunlight to produce well, they can thrive with morning sun, bright filtered light, several hours of direct sunlight, indirect daylight throughout much of the day. They do not necessarily require full sun from sunrise to sunset to provide generous harvests. In many shaded gardens, cooler conditions can even help extend fruit production later into the growing season. Ideal for challenging locations. These berries are excellent choices for gardens beneath mature trees, fences that receive limited sun, balconies with partial light, courtyards surrounded by buildings, areas that receive mostly morning sunshine. If you thought berry production was impossible in a shady space, raspberries and blackberries may prove otherwise. 2. Blueberries. Blueberries are another fruit that often surprises gardeners with their ability to handle partial shade. Many people assume blueberry bushes require intense sunlight all day long, but numerous varieties perform very well when protected from harsh afternoon heat. In nature, blueberries are commonly found near forest margins and woodland openings, where light is softer and less intense than in open fields. Why blueberries appreciate partial shade? Strong summer sunlight can place significant stress on blueberry plants, particularly in warmer regions. Too much heat may contribute to leaf scorch, rapid soil drying, moisture loss, plant stress, reduced drought tolerance. Partial shade creates a cooler environment that supports steady growth and healthier root development. Cooler soil supports. Stronger roots. Blueberries have relatively shallow root systems, making them sensitive to hot, dry conditions. Filtered light helps. Preserve soil moisture, protect roots from overheating, maintain consistent soil temperatures, support healthy nutrient uptake. These conditions encourage stronger growth and improved plant vigor over time. Improved fruit. One advantage many gardeners notice is better fruit quality. Because berries mature more slowly in cooler conditions, sugars often develop more evenly. This gradual ripening process can improve flavor, texture, and overall berry quality. The plants themselves also tend to remain healthier throughout the growing season. Perfect for low-light gardens. Blueberries can be highly productive in areas that receive filtered sunlight, morning sun, partial shade, light filtered through trees, limited direct exposure due to nearby structures. In warmer climates, these conditions can sometimes be even more favorable than uninterrupted full sun. Many gardeners are pleasantly surprised to discover that blueberries become one of the most reliable fruit crops in locations where other plants struggle. With suitable acidic soil and several hours of gentle light each day, blueberry bushes can provide beautiful foliage, vigorous growth, and abundant harvests year after year. 3. Strawberries, a surprisingly shade-friendly fruit. Many gardeners believe strawberries require full sun from morning until evening to produce a good harvest. While they certainly appreciate some sunlight, strawberries are much more adaptable than many people expect. In fact, in warmer climates, they often benefit from protection during the hottest part of the day. Excessive sunlight and heat can place significant stress on strawberry plants. Intense afternoon sun may cause berries to overheat, leaves to become damaged, and soil moisture to disappear quickly. Partial shade helps create a cooler, more balanced growing environment that strawberries often appreciate. Why strawberries perform well in partial shade. Softer light conditions can improve several aspects of strawberry growth. The plants remain cooler during hot weather, reducing stress and helping foliage stay healthy. Since strawberry roots grow close to the soil surface, the improved moisture retention provided by shade is especially beneficial. Fruit quality can also improve. When berries mature more slowly, they have additional time to develop flavor and sweetness. Many gardeners find that strawberries grown in partial shade produce fruit that is more juicy, sweeter, richer in flavor, less likely to suffer from sun damage. Rather than becoming dry or scorched, the berries often develop a better texture and overall eating quality. How much sunlight do strawberries need? One of the biggest surprises for many gardeners is that strawberries can remain productive with relatively modest light levels. Many varieties grow successfully with 3 to 4 hours of direct sunlight daily, bright indirect light, morning sunshine followed by afternoon shade, filtered light beneath trees or taller plants. Because of this adaptability, strawberries are well suited to balconies with limited sunlight, garden borders along fences, courtyards, compact urban gardens, areas beside buildings, hanging baskets in partially shaded locations. They can even thrive beneath fruit trees or taller ornamentals where sunlight remains softer throughout the day. Ideal for lower light growing areas. If you've avoided strawberries because your garden isn't especially sunny, you may be overlooking one of the most adaptable fruit crops available. Among fruit-producing plants, strawberries are unusually tolerant of partial shade and can often perform remarkably well in spaces where many other fruits struggle. 4. Green onions and chives. Reliable choices for shady gardens. Green onions, scallions, and chives are among the easiest edible plants to grow when sunlight is limited. Unlike many vegetables that require long hours of direct sun, these members of the allium family adapt very well to lower light conditions and continue producing harvests with minimal effort. They are excellent choices for shaded balconies, gardens beneath trees, partially shaded patios, containers and raised beds, bright indoor windowsills. Why they grow well in shade. Green onions and chives naturally prefer cooler temperatures, making them particularly well suited to partially shaded locations. Instead of struggling in reduced light, they often focus on producing healthy foliage. Gardeners frequently notice taller green shoots, tender leaves, vigorous growth, extended harvesting periods. Because the edible portion is the leafy growth rather than fruit, these plants require far less sunlight than many traditional vegetable crops. Fast and continuous regrowth. One of the greatest advantages of green onions and chives is how quickly they recover after harvesting. The tops can be cut repeatedly and fresh growth often appears within a short period. Even when grown closely together in containers, they continue producing throughout the season. They are also excellent beginner-friendly crops because they require very little care, tolerate cooler weather, experience relatively few pest problems, remain productive in lower light conditions. For gardeners just starting a shade garden, they are among the easiest and most dependable plants to grow. 5. Peas, a cool season crop that handles shade beautifully. Peas are another excellent option for gardens that receive limited sunlight. Unlike crops that crave heat and intense sunshine, peas naturally thrive in cooler conditions. In fact, excessive heat often causes pea plants to stop flowering and producing much earlier than expected. Why partial shade? Benefits peas. Growing peas in partial shade helps protect them from high temperatures, especially during late spring and early summer. Under cooler conditions, pea plants often remain productive for longer periods, show less wilting, produce healthier vines, develop sweeter pods, experience less environmental stress. Because they avoid overheating, they can continue flowering and setting pods well beyond the point where sun-stressed plants begin declining. Suitable for challenging locations. Peas perform particularly well in areas such as north-facing gardens, narrow side yards, partially shaded patios, spaces near fences or buildings, gardens that receive mostly morning sunlight. Many varieties can provide excellent harvest with only 4 to 5 hours of gentle sunlight each day. Excellent for containers, and vertical growing peas are also ideal for container gardens. Even on balconies and patios with limited sunlight, they readily climb trellises, cages, and other vertical supports, while continuing to produce abundant pods. In partially shaded locations, gardeners often observe strong, healthy tendrils, longer harvesting seasons, improved sweetness due to slower ripening, reduced heat-related stress. If you're looking for a productive crop that genuinely thrives in cooler, lower-light environments, peas are one of the best options available. They demonstrate that a garden doesn't need full sun all day to provide an impressive harvest. 6. Carrots, a root vegetable that performs well in partial shade. Many gardeners assume carrots need full sun because the edible portion grows underground. However, carrots are far more adaptable than most people realize and often grow exceptionally well in areas that receive only moderate sunlight. One reason carrots tolerate shade so successfully is their preference for cool, evenly moist soil. Partial shade naturally helps maintain these conditions by protecting both the foliage and the soil from excessive heat. When temperatures remain moderate, carrot tops stay greener and healthier. Instead of becoming stressed by hot afternoon sun, the plants continue producing strong foliage that supports steady root development below ground. Why shade benefits carrots? Carrots tend to grow more gradually in cooler environments, which often leads to better quality roots. Under partial shade, gardeners frequently notice straighter roots, more uniform growth, improved texture, enhanced sweetness, reduced cracking and splitting. Because moisture evaporates more slowly, the soil remains consistently damp, helping roots develop evenly rather than becoming tough or woody. The slower growth encouraged by cooler conditions also allows natural sugars to accumulate gradually, producing carrots with a sweeter flavor and a crisp, tender texture. Adaptable to many garden locations. Carrots can thrive in a variety of lower light environments, including areas with morning sun and afternoon shade, spaces beneath lightly filtered tree canopies, gardens beside fences and walls, raised beds that receive only partial sunlight. Since the harvest develops beneath the soil surface, carrots are less dependent on long hours of direct sunlight than many other vegetables. In fact, partial shade often protects them from overheating, while helping preserve the moisture they need to produce beautiful, flavorful roots. If you've avoided growing carrots because your garden doesn't receive full sun, you may be surprised by how productive they can be in cooler, shaded areas. 7. Leafy greens, some of the best vegetables for shaded gardens. When it comes to crops that thrive with limited sunlight, leafy greens are among the top performers. Many popular greens not only tolerate shade but actually benefit from it. Plants such as spinach, lettuce, kale, arugula, Swiss chard, mustard greens often grow better in partial shade than they do under intense summer sunshine. Why leafy greens prefer shade. Hot weather and strong sunlight can cause leafy vegetables to become bitter, tough, dry, less productive. Heat also encourages bolting, a process where the plant shifts its energy toward flowering instead of producing edible leaves. Once bolting begins, flavor and harvest quality usually decline rapidly. Partial shade helps prevent this problem by keeping temperatures lower and preserving soil moisture. As a result, plants continue producing fresh foliage for a much longer period. Excellent in low-light conditions. Unlike fruiting crops, leafy greens do not require large amounts of direct sunlight to produce a harvest. Their primary needs are high, moderate temperatures, consistent moisture. Healthy soil shade naturally helps provide all three. Many leafy greens continue growing successfully with only filtered sunlight or several hours of gentle morning sun each day. They perform especially well in gardens beneath taller plants, covered balconies, areas beside walls and fences, corners that receive limited sunlight. What may seem like a challenging location for other vegetables can often become the perfect environment for leafy greens. Once you begin harvesting basket after basket of fresh leaves from a shaded garden bed, it becomes clear that shade can be a major advantage rather than a limitation. 8. Broccoli, a cool season vegetable that appreciates shade. Although broccoli is a large and vigorous plant, it actually performs remarkably well in cooler, partially shaded gardens. This crop prefers moderate temperatures, and excessive heat is often one of the biggest obstacles to producing high-quality heads. How shade helps broccoli? Partial shade protects broccoli from intense afternoon heat and reduces stress during warm weather. As a result, plants often produce denser heads, better flavor, stronger stems, darker green florets, longer harvest periods. When exposed to too much heat, broccoli may bolt prematurely, develop loose heads, or become more bitter. Cooler conditions encourage steady growth and allow the plant to focus on producing large, compact heads rather than rushing into flowering. Longer growing season shade also helps extend broccoli's productive period. By slowing the flowering process, the plant continues directing energy toward harvestable growth instead of seed production. This often results in larger and more consistent harvests, particularly in warmer regions where full sun can become overwhelming. Whether grown in raised beds, containers, or partially shaded garden plots, broccoli remains one of the most dependable vegetables for locations with limited sunlight. 9. Beets, a reliable choice for partially shaded gardens. Beets are among the most versatile root vegetables and adapt surprisingly well to gardens that receive only moderate sunlight. Although many gardeners associate root crops with full sun conditions, beets frequently perform exceptionally well in cooler, partially shaded locations. Why beets grow well in shade? Partial shade helps maintain soil moisture and protects roots from excessive heat. Under these conditions, beets often develop smoother roots, better texture, richer flavor, fewer cracks and imperfections, more consistent growth. In contrast, intense sunlight and heat can sometimes cause roots to become woody, dry, or overly firm. 2 harvests from one plant. Another advantage of growing beets is that both the roots and the leaves are edible. The greens often become larger, more tender, richly colored, excellent for salads and cooking. Because shade reduces stress, the foliage typically remains attractive and productive for longer periods. Reduced risk of bolting. High temperatures can trigger premature flowering, which reduces root quality. Partial shade helps stabilize temperatures and encourages the plant to continue developing healthy roots rather than shifting into reproduction. Whether grown in containers, raised beds, or narrow garden spaces, beets consistently prove themselves as productive vegetables for lower light gardens. 10. Radishes, fast-growing and highly shade-tolerant. Radishes may not be the first crop people think of when planning a shade garden, but they are among the easiest vegetables to grow in areas with limited sunlight. Their rapid growth and adaptability make them ideal for challenging garden conditions. Why radishes thrive in partial shade. One of the biggest advantages of radishes is their short growing cycle. Many varieties mature in just a few weeks, and cooler shaded conditions often improve both texture and flavor. When grown in partial shade, radishes typically produce roots that are crisp, smooth, uniformly shaped, mild in flavor, less likely to become fibrous. Protection from heat. Stress. Excessive sunlight can cause radishes to bolt prematurely, sending up flower stalks before the roots have fully developed. Once this occurs, the roots often become tough and unsuitable for harvest. Shade helps prevent this problem by keeping temperatures cooler and encouraging steady root development. Surprisingly low light requirements. Many radish varieties require only a small amount of direct sunlight to grow successfully. They often perform well with a few hours of morning sun, filtered daylight, bright indirect light. This makes them excellent candidates for shaded raised beds, balcony containers, side yard gardens, spaces with limited sun exposure. If you're looking for a fast-growing vegetable that produces reliable harvest without needing full sun, radishes are one of the best choices available. They prove that even the shadiest corners of a garden can become productive growing spaces.